Alright, this is this is the last video tutorial I'm doing for today. Or it's not a tutorial, I'm sorry. This is the last video critique I'm doing for today. And it will have a critique or feedback for Wendolyn, for Michaela, for Haley Willardson, and for Sidney Wilson. And let me just say thank you for waiting so long for this video. I hope that it's helpful to you. Honestly, that is my only purpose in doing these videos. I really just want to help you make your projects better. So we'll start out with Wendolyn's project. Wendolyn, I like what you've done to your logo. I think it works smoother, easier, cleaner than the peace sign logo. I do wonder about spacing, because spacing communicates relationships. The space between the V and this E is different than the space between the V and this E, which indicates a different relationship. I think most people would read vegan vendors, but if it was me, I would move the second word closer. And in fact, if you zoom way in, make sure that this, you don't have to even zoom in that far, but zoom in enough that you can tell the space between the V and the E as compared to the E to the G. So these, because they have a similar relationship to each other within a word, they should have a similar distance to each other. This is a hard shape to put on a business card, but I think where you've put it is fine. There's white space here, and I think I can live with that. One thing that you might do that might make this a little bit more unique is to cut out the bottom of your card to match the shape of the tomato. Now, I wouldn't cut it right on the tomato, but leave a white space between where that shape. You wouldn't actually cut it. You would just make your business card shaped like this, if that makes sense. And that would give it a little bit of interest, a little bit of uniqueness. On the front of your card where the information is, please put your own name. Put Wendolyn Valdez instead of Billy Madison. This is supposedly your card, as if you worked for this organization. So put that there. Also, think a lot about that principle of proximity. In other words, when things are close, they have a relationship. And when they're far, they have less of a relationship. So when you put your Gmail address, your email address, the same distance from this line of the physical address as this line of physical address is to the second line of physical address, you're saying that these three lines have the same relationship to each other, but in truth, the two address lines have more of a relationship. So either they should be closer or there should be more space between the email and the physical address than there currently is. Proximity is really important. You've used it well as far as the white space that you've made. I love the white space that you've made. It's great. It's beautiful. But use proximity also to create groupings and relationships between elements. Okay, on your letterhead, I like that you've left a little more space here. Not so much here. In fact, one thing that it looks like to me is that you're putting things in the corners, which is not the best place for things to be. So you've got this in that corner, this in that corner, and this in that corner. And this is really close to that corner. I would definitely either move it off so that you only see part of this shape, or I would move it more onto the paper. Also, I would take the words off of this one that's going to be a watermark, because when you type your business letter on top of this, it will be hard to read the words on top of other words. So make a version of the logo that doesn't have the words on it. And then consider making this shape huge, about like this. Okay? And let it really come off the edge. At least that's one option, so that it doesn't feel like it's trapped in that space. Also, these little green dots are nice repetition of the color. you might consider not having them underneath the tomato shape. You might even consider aligning this tomato shape more, centrally here, and having the dots start there. That way you're not blocking off this space so much, you're kind of opening it up. And take these off here on the bottom because again, that's just blocking it off. It's a repetition of that element, but I don't know that it's a necessary repetition. In fact, one other thing that you might think about is instead of making this a straight line, you might make it curved, kind of like you curve the card or like the curve of the tomato. That would make it harder to work with, but also more in line with your organic theme instead of geometric theme. Again, use your own name there. Use proximity to create relationships or separate relationships, and make sure there's plenty of space around the edges. So that's a little tight. Anyway, I've said enough. Hope that's helpful to you. Again, that's Wendolyn's. Now I want to do Michala's next. Okay, this one's Michala's. And Michaela, I think you did it. I think you did it. I like this typography. It's working well. It's nested in with this shape. You've got some contrast in it. I'm not sure about those greens, but I'm just going to say they're great because there is some contrast between them, but there's also some similarity. So I guess it would be kind of an analogous scheme. And I love especially this side of the card where the elephant is coming off of the end and that part of the line disappears where the elephant is. That's really cool. I like that a lot. I do wonder about left aligning your text instead of right aligning it. This is okay, but you do trap some white space here and you do disunify things. But it might work better this way. You decide if this is what you need to do. Then I trust your judgment. You have a good eye. You're a good designer. Let's see, Michaela, here's your letterhead. And I like this too. You've got a good strong line, good white space. I do wonder about letting the same thing happen here where the elephant is entering into the frame. Could you make this frame disappear? So the elephant just, you know what I mean? Just like on the card. Just like that. Is it possible? It might not be because this is a watermark and this line is not a watermark. Although maybe you could turn this line into a watermark. I don't know. Just so they could go together. And again, maybe that wouldn't work, but I'm sure curious about it. Or here's another thought. What if the elephant... Well, I see what you're doing. You're trying to balance. You could experiment with putting this over here and letting this elephant face the opposite direction and come in on this side. Yeah, I think that's about it for my feedback on this one. Beautiful job, Michaela. You already know I really like your logo. It's really strong. Okay, so next I'm going to do Haley's. Haley Willardson. Haley, I think these are your business cards. I don't think that they're working in this shape. I understand the shape. It looks like part of an airplane. But the business card needs to fit within a 3.5 by 2 rectangle. And these just aren't, it's just not fitting. I kind of like the way this looks. It'll look great on an airplane, just not on a business card. And a second problem with this shape is that this text is really crowded. It's crowded right up against that edge. So you might just go back to just a regular business card, or maybe a different part of the airplane shape. I don't know. Um, if I were you too, because this purple color is so close to this black color, why not use that in your text information? Instead of black, use this purple color. Maybe all the text could be that color, or maybe your name could be that color, and then the rest of the text could be this dark orange. Just a thought, try it out, see what you think. That's why I do feedback, just to give you some ideas. Here is your stationery. The stationery doesn't feel enough like the cards to say that they belong together in a stationery set. The letterhead doesn't feel enough like the business cards to feel like a stationery set. For example, this kind of cream color that you've used here, where is it here? It doesn't exist. These boxes that exist on the stationery, on the letterhead I mean, they don't exist on the cards. So it feels like two different people designed these things. Also, these are really heavy boxes that really separate these away. It's like you're putting the tiger in a cage, and you're putting the people in a cage over here, and you're putting them far away from each other. Maybe it's, maybe it's not safe to be close, but it really disunifies them. This alignment is not aligned to anything. It could be aligned to the logo. So consider that. Consider more repetition to make these two look like they belong together. And consider not having these boxes. Or if you do have them, then put them here too. But remember that the boxes do crowd things in and trap white space that could be open. Okay, so that's that one for Haley. And then the last one is for Sidney. Oops. Let me see, Sidney. All right, here's Sidney's stationery. Give me a second to get it sized and positioned right. All right. Sidney, this looks really good. I love it. The text is a little hard to read, but then that's because the size is really small for me, but it's probably okay. I love this side of the card, except maybe the text going over, right here and right here. It creates some tangents and some little shapes that are hard to read. So you might have to work on that, or you might just call this, it might just put coastline on this side in the white space, or in this green area. I don't know. If this is your tagline and you want to put it somewhere, then maybe it could go above the wave, but I don't think that's a good place for it. I wonder what would happen if you introduced, like a white stripe on your card, not necessarily like straight up and down, but kind of like one of these white stripes, how it has an odd angle. I wonder what that would look like on your card for some repetition. Or even if your card had like this navy color over on one side, kind of like the logo does. If you want to play with that, great. It's just a stray thought idea. It doesn't look bad right now. I'd like to see a little bit more unity here, where you've got this far left and far right, and then you trapped white space here. What if you moved this information to the right, this information to the left, so that they were united more and pulled together? Try it, see what you think. This is your letterhead. Looks great. This information is too big. Make it smaller. I love your watermark. It's beautiful. Logo looks nice. I always wonder about, instead of separating things, about aligning them. So if it was me, I would experiment with moving this text, for example, right to here, making it smaller and left aligning it so that these were unified, or putting it right underneath and left aligning it, so it's like this, or right aligning it on this side. Anyway, just a couple things to give to try. Your overall, your cards and your stationery, your letterhead look great. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend, and I'll see you all on Tuesday.